There are some 45,000 followers of the Orthodox faith in Estonia, 2/3 of whom are Russian. They're feeling increasingly persecuted following Estonia's independence in 1991. During the Soviet occupation, the Orthodox Church was forced to accept Moscow as its patriarch. With the restoration of independence, the Estonian-speaking congregation elected to revert back to the control of the Patriarch of Constantinople, whilst the Russian-speaking congregation are content to continue under the jurisdiction of Moscow. This has effectively split the practicing Orthodox Church in Estonia into two separate entities. The government see the Estonian-speaking Orthodox Church as the rightful heirs to property seized by the Russians during World War II. Under Estonian law, all religious groups must register with the government. But the Russian-speaking Orthodox Church fears that if they do, they will lose their property in favor of the Estonian Orthodox Church.
Новые власти, существующие теперь православную церковь в Эстонии, не признали.
The new authorities in the Estonian Orthodox Church do not recognize us as having owned this church before 1940. And because of the new law, they don't want to give us the church property back. This building, the grounds, living quarters, which belong to the church, they won't give it back, and they don't intend to.
The government denies that registration will necessarily result in the loss of all property by the Russian Orthodox Church. They say those remaining under the Patriarch of Moscow will have the right to retain the churches they currently occupy and the housing for the priest.
В силу вот этого несоответствия государство отказывается регистрировать нас.
The government doesn't want to recognize us as the legal owners of the church property. I don't have a lot of hope for the future. Up to now, we are illegal. Even if we don't break the law, we just cannot defeat a law which says we don't exist. We exist, we have the right to exist.
For the ordinary Russian living in Estonia, life too can be difficult. Estonia remains home to 300,000 former Soviet citizens who make up 40% of the 1.6 million population. Concerned that they might become a minority in their own homeland, the Estonians have introduced tough immigration laws to phase out the old Soviet-styled passport. Non-Estonians applying for citizenship are required to take a test in Estonian and answer questions on the constitution. The Council of Europe says the test is too difficult and is perhaps intended to prevent Russians from getting citizenship. The majority of ethnic Russians now feel alien.
We are Russians. We're not citizens. Our red passports will not be valid anymore. They issued us the green foreign passports, but nobody recognises them. And to get a new one takes months.
I'm upset. I'm old and I can't learn the language. But my children were born here, and they could have given them citizenship, but they gave them the green foreigner's passport. I can travel, but my children can't. Once again, it's a problem with the documents.
The city of Narva in northwestern Estonia sits uneasily on the border with Russia. Its river forms the official boundary between the two independent countries. In Narva, unemployment is very high, since trade with Russia was reduced dramatically following Estonian independence. This was one of the last cities to see the introduction of private enterprise. At the border, Estonian guards carry out stringent controls on people crossing to and from Russia. Those with the former Soviet passports and no resident permit are warned that they will not be allowed to return to Estonia. Lines of pedestrians and cars move slowly between customs posts. This Russian family lives in Narva. Whilst the mother has gained Estonian citizenship, her teenage son struggles to learn the language in order to get a passport. Until then, he cannot travel abroad. For a young man, learning a new language is difficult. For older people, it can be an insurmountable problem. The passport laws and the re-establishment of the Estonian Orthodox Church are designed to rid Estonia of the trappings of the 50-year Soviet occupation, which has left its scars on both its people and the countryside. Throughout Estonia, there are constant reminders of the Soviet occupation. The entire country is littered with former Soviet military bases. Many are polluted, like this airfield at Tartu. The soil beneath these kerosene fuel storage tanks is polluted with oil and toxic chemicals up to a depth of 5 meters. Given time and money, it can be cleared. Nestling unprotected amongst the trees, these tanks, however, pose a more deadly problem. They contain gallons of highly toxic rocket fuel left by the Soviets. With each gust of wind, lethal gases waft into the atmosphere. The only thing stopping the entire contents evaporating are flimsy aluminium caps held down by wooden pallets. There are literally millions of gallons of rocket fuel on abandoned air bases like this one throughout the Baltics. They continue to make the surrounding countryside uninhabitable. It will take the Estonians a long time to come to terms with the death of the Soviet Union and its consequences. It cannot ignore Russia. Both communities have suffered. Only by working together can the mistakes of the past be rectified.